Good morning. We are Group 5. Today we discuss about Hofstede's cultural dimensions. Culture is a rich tapestry that weaves together various aspects of social life. It encompasses both tangible and intangible elements that shape human behavior, beliefs, and practices. Then we can discuss about what is Hofstede's national cultural model. It is a theory which developed by Geert Hofstede. This theory provides a framework to understand the different in culture across countries. Here are the key dimensions of Hofstede's cultural model. 1. Power distance index. 2. Individualism versus collectivism. 3. Masculinity versus femininity. 4. Long-term versus short-term orientation. 5. Indulgence versus restraint. 6. Uncertainty avoidance. Now we discuss those dimensions separately. 1. Power distance index. According to the Hofstede's national cultural model, there are 6 key aspects from that 6 key concepts. Power distance is the first one. Power distance, which mean less powerful members of an organization expect and accept that the power is distributed unequally. Let's have a small comparison on high power distance and low power distance. First, we can discuss about high power distance. Centralized decision-making. Top-to-down communication. Individuals in the top making independent decision and expecting compliment. Formal relationship between superiors and subordinates. Next, we can discuss about the low power distance part. They are decentralized decision-making, more open and two-way communication. All employees gather, negotiate and making decision. Transformational leadership style, informal relationship superiors and subordinates. 2. Individualism versus collectivism. From Hofstede's 6 key aspects, second 115 collectivism versus individualism, which means degree to which individuals are supposed to look after themselves. So talking about this both separately, collectivism is employees like to work as groups more than individual, and also individualism means they like to work on their own. Let's have another comparison for this dimension also. So first of all, let's discuss about collectivism. Strong relationship, taking responsibility for others, value social expectations and harmony, group goals, group rewards, expecting, make decisions on their group preferences. Next, I would like to talk on individualism. Individualism has weak interpersonal relationship, less responsibility on other, value time, freedom and privacy, individual rewards, expecting, make decisions on their personal preferences. Moving on to femininity and masculinity. Under the Hofstede's cultural dimensions, the third dimension is the masculinity versus femininity. This dimension explains the extent to which a society values the masculine and feminine traits and the extent to which a culture supports the traditional view of those traits separately. Let's go through this table to differentiate the characteristics between masculinity and femininity. Under masculinity comes assertiveness, competitiveness, material success, ambitious and achievement-oriented, and under femininity comes cooperation, quality of life, nurturing relationships, modesty and caring. In conclusion, this dimension illuminates the ways a society prioritizes values related to gender roles separately, and by examining this dimension of masculinity and femininity, it helps the organizations to navigate international interactions accordingly. Moving on to the next dimension, uncertainty avoidance index. This dimension explains the degree to which the members of the society feel uncomfortable within uncertainty. This assesses the degree to which a culture is characterized by a preference for structured stations, clear rules and formalized procedures to minimize the uncertainty. Now let's see what cultures with high certainty avoidance and low certainty avoidance have separately. Cultures with high certainty avoidance have strong desire for predictability, stability and order, exhibit low tolerance for ambiguity, prefer explicit rules and regulations, strive to minimize risk, and cultures with low certainty avoidance have gather acceptance of ambiguity, relaxed attitude towards rules and regulations, value flexibility, innovation, and creativity. Now let's see what long-term versus short-term dimension is. Long-term orientation is the fifth dimension of Hofstede's, which was added after the original 4 to try to distinguish the difference in thinking between the East and West. From the original IBM studies, This difference was something that could not be deduced. Therefore, Hofstede created a Chinese value survey which was distributed across 23 countries. From these results, and with an understanding of the influence of the teaching of Confucius and the East, long-term versus short-term orientation became the fifth cultural dimension. Under long-term orientation, societies with long-term orientations tend to focus on the future in a way that delays short-term success in favor of success in the long term. And also these societies emphasizes traits such as persistence, perseverance, thrift, saving, long-term growth and the capacity for adaptation. And then moving on to short-term orientation. Short-term orientation in a society, in contrast, indicates a focus on the near future, involves delivering short-term success or gratification and places a stronger emphasis on the present than the future. And also the end result of this is an emphasis on quick results and respect for tradition. The values of a short-term society are related to the past and the present and can result in unrestrained spending, often in response to social or ecological pressure. This table shows the more informations regarding short-term and long-term orientation. Indulgence versus restraint. Hofstede's most recent dimension, indulgence versus restraint, which was added in 2010. It was added because it focuses on aspects that are not covered by the other dimensions. Indulgence, which means, stands for a society that allows relatively free gratification of basic and natural human drives related to enjoying life and having fun, dimensions, and restraint is, for a society that suppresses gratification of needs and regulates it by means of strict social norms. Following is an example shown in the table taking two countries, namely United States versus Russia, of the indulgence versus restraint in society. Indulgent cultures will tend to focus more on individual happiness and well-being. Leisure time is more important, and there is greater freedom and personal control. This is in contrast with restrained cultures where positive emotions are less freely expressed, and happiness, freedom, and leisure are not given the same importance. McLaughlin, 2013. Then moving on to the final conclusion of the Hofstede's cultural dimension. Hofstede's 6 cultural dimensions offer insight into how societies vary in their values and behaviors. They include power distance, individualism versus collectivism, masculinity versus femininity, uncertainty avoidance, long-term versus short-term orientation, and indulgence versus restraint. These dimensions help understand how power is distributed, whether individuals prioritize personal or collective interests, how gender roles are perceived, attitudes towards uncertainty, time orientation, and attitudes towards indulgence. Recognizing and respecting these differences can facilitate smoother cross-cultural interactions, fostering mutual respect and cooperation in our increasingly interconnected world. Thank you.